That one carousel kills you sometimes. I mean, that one carousel of video poker machines at Harrah's in Atlantic City. I don't know how many rotations or orbits I've made around there. But my theory is if a machine hits, get up and leave right away and go to the next machine and see if you can't take something down. And that's worked for me both, favorably and very unfavorably. Like if the payoff, it says just paid out like $600, you're thinking that'll never hit again. I mean, it'll be another leap year or so before that machine pays off again. Otherwise, they just put them, on a van and then take them right to the airport there and ship them off to Caracas or something, right? Next thing you know, I mean, you're seeing the Air Venezuela, and there's that slot machine on it. Speaking of odds, 50-1 you get on the Marlins to win the World Series. 50-1. Would you say no way, Jose Canseco, that the Marlins win the World Series this year? They have a tendency to be in a coma until the 8th inning of a ball game.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden they get some kind of, they get like Panama Lewis comes into the dugout and says, here, drink this. All of a sudden the guy's dick is hard in the corner. What do you got here, Panama? That's the stuffing out of the gloves. The guy goes out there, scores a late round knockout after getting the shit knocked out of him the entire fight.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on this Tuesday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, one Mike, Lubie Lubitz, and once again, the magic question has popped up. How could it be in springtime? That was Robert Goulet, right? If ever I should leave you, how could it be in springtime? Because I could leave you anytime. That's pretty much been my approach. The history of relationships, not necessarily a favorable or particularly flattering one. But, we have that debate all the time. And, I think we might have given a nod to springtime when we were in springtime there, Lubie.
Yep.
But how could you possibly not be in love with what's going on in the sporting world right now? You could not have a more perfect conundrum of great things happening all at the same time. Think about it, Lubie. You have outrageously exciting playoff baseball taking place, including a couple of upsets. I always like it when people start to whine about the format, especially the teams that had byes in the first round. Now, you would think that would be just a humongous advantage, no? You have a bye in the first round. The other team is forced to play 2, maybe 3 games. Now, in this case, all of the previous series ended up after 2 games, which was kind of a surprise. And yet, that being said, when you think about the dynamic there, Louie, what's in play there? You have a team that is having to go all in to get out of the first round, the wild card round, while the other team is kind of just sitting back. You know what? That pastrami sandwich looks good. I think I'll have another one of those. I mean, they're just taking it easy, relaxing. They're in Cancun. They're at the swimming pool. And maybe there's something to be said for possibly losing a little bit of your edge. But after playing a 162-game marathon, Louie, a marathon, a week's rest, is that really going to throw you out of your game? Now, the other team has to use their first 2 starters, and many teams at this point in the season are dealing with things like the Marlins were, where you're thinking, who's going to start game 3? Don't even have like a depth chart that reaches 3. And so they're forced to go with bullpen games and all kinds of mashuggah stuff that in the past would have been just an outrage, as Tony Bruno would say. An outrage. And so, you would think it would be a huge edge, right? For the Baltimore Orioles, they're going to go with their number 1, number 2 guy in the first couple of games of the best out of 5 series. And I would imagine to accomplish what they did during the regular season, both the Dodgers and the Orioles in this case would easily. Oh yeah, look at that.
What numbers were you saying? I don't mind saying this here because you were underselling us a lot. I know that has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I had to check. I'm like, if Defo's finding the numbers, why can't I see these numbers? And then I'm like, these numbers don't look anything like what Defo was saying.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I was looking in the wrong place. I don't know. We had 17,000 views for this morning briefing.
There are some shows that have that, and there are some shows that did really well.
Oh, yeah. Even better? I mean, I saw that one. I don't know, 171,000 views. Did that seem like
oh, it's real.
It was a little out of whack? That was real?
Well, that's real. Those are the ones that did better. The average is anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500. And then there's a few that did really, 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 really well.
What happened on those days, man? Were we much better than we were on the other days? I don't know. It seems like it's the same shit every day, no?
Sorry to sidetrack you. I just thought that would give you a little oomph. Like, that's pretty freaking cool. So
I saw that, but I didn't believe it. That was the thing. So used to seeing South Florida Live with like 37 views, and then all of our sponsors start fetching and saying, you know what, Def, we love you, but maybe the game's over, right? This microphone, Lubie, I'm going to throw this mic stand in your face when you come over to collect it. It is killing me, man. Maybe that's how. And look at that; it goes right straight back down to the bottom there. I've tried everything. I've tried every type of adjustment. I'm trying not to, do the show as if I was a rabbi conducting a bar mitzvah lesson here, all hunched over, trying to look at the camera and address you people. We're wrestling with some serious issues here at the start. Where was I? I was in the midst of this baseball rant. It wasn't really a rant, but you would think. I mean, have you seen this, Lubie? It appeared. I saw an article there where people are starting to question the format of the baseball postseason now, and saying that. Why now? Because the home teams lost a couple of games. I mean, is it not possible that a team could go on a road and get hot, win a couple of ball games? But you would think being rested for a week and having your rotation intact would be a huge advantage, no? Over the teams that just had to play the 2 out of 3 series, even if it only went 2 games. They're still, at best, onto their third starter by the time the next series gets underway.
Yes.
And then, you have guys, I guess, coming back, more quickly than they otherwise would. But you would think the rest would do them some good. But the Dodgers find themselves against the wall now, having lost 2 in a row to Arizona. And in that clip at the beginning, Luke, we were talking about taking the Marlins at 50-1.
You're taking the Diamondbacks.
Well, you look like you might be in a position that, you're still 2 series away from cashing at 50-1. Can I just throw this thing, Libby? I'm just going to grab this and start holding it if this continues to happen here. Now, I've tried everything. I've tried every type of adjustment that I can make. Let me try this here. Maybe this will help a little bit. Sorry about this, people, doing this live on the air, but it's so annoying you can't imagine. Is it because this thing has been thrown around a few times?
I have no idea. I mean, I thought you'd
been like this since the very beginning.
I know it's been a pain in the ass for you.
Oh, no.
Started with it, but
it needs Viagra, this microphone. I need like one of those Johnny Addy microphones. It just comes down from the ceiling. The time.
Yeah,
that'd be great. Anyway, I'm reading some gripes from. I can't imagine anybody's pissed off about the format just because the Orioles are down 0-2. This happens. We mentioned this yesterday, where a team comes out of nowhere, sort of. I mean, the Orioles were not expected to do anything in the American League East, right? You think American League East, you think what? You think Yankees number 1. You think the Red Sox are going to be in there. You think the Blue Jays have finally assembled a roster there of power hitters that is going to be so dynamic that, nobody's going to be able to compete with them. The Rays somehow are always going to be around there, annoying team that they are in terms of the fact that nobody gives a flying fuck about them in their own hometown, selling 20,000 tickets for a playoff game. Possible elimination playoff game, and they got 19,000 people in the stands. Just fans disguised as the proverbial empty seats. And last you're thinking the Orioles, correct? Thinking, well, what happened? Oh, Buck Showalter, he's with the Mets now. He was riding shotgun for Oriole teams that were winning 50, 60 games,
yep,
stuff like that. I don't know if it was that bad, but
they were bad. They're rough.
A case of argument. And, you're not expecting much there. And yet we've seen this before where teams have just a magical season and accomplish a remarkable turnaround. And then they get to the postseason and they lay an egg. So it's not uncommon. I don't know that the fault is with the format that these two teams are 0-2. And in the other series, you had Philadelphia in a position last night. And this was the game of the night. In any sport, I would have to say. And that's saying a lot because you had a Monday Night Football game in Vegas, which anything that happens in Las Vegas is of interest to me for some reason. I'm planning on making my way out there for the Super Bowl somehow and managed to comp a couple of rooms, one room, but, for a couple of nights at about, can you imagine this? I mean, this is how much money is the Mustang sending into these slot machines at the Harris/Caesars casinos for them to offer her 4 nights the week of the Super Bowl in Las Vegas.
It already happened. They offered you a room.
We made an inquiry because I have reason to want to be out there. It's in Las Vegas, so any reason to go out there. I don't care if it's mid-July, would be one thing. But I feel like we're going to be conducting enough business, Lubie, that it'll be worth the trip. Now, the problem is, can I take you with me? That's going to be very suspicious.
No.
Whether or not we can do that, because she managed to somehow wrangle 4 nights of rooms at like $79 a night the week of the Super Bowl. Can you imagine that? I mean, rooms are going for like $1,500.
Yeah, in Vegas
at like the Flamingo. I mean, it's some shithole hotel that you normally would think, hey, could this place use a renovation? How about putting that money, into spiffing up the rooms a little bit?
Yeah,
but not to complain. I wouldn't care where I was staying. I could be staying at a Motel Schwitz, and it would be fine. Flights out there, during that period of time right now were absolutely prohibitive.
The flight's got to be fucking insane.
$1,500 for 2 people round trip.
Oh shit!
Right now, that's now.
Oh no!
I have to, make some serious business decisions here, but I definitely want to be there for it because, I'm thinking maybe it might be time to actually apply for a credential to the game and go.
Well, I was saying, the game, good for you. I was gonna reach out to Believe and No Filter and see what they can do about getting us credentials.
I think they're in on that.
Well, no, they're definitely going to be there. It's just getting us, I don't want the day passes. Like, I want a full-on credential. Like,
don't they want their big stars now with 171,000 views on a morning briefing?
I don't know. I'm going to reach out to both parties and see what they can do about getting us credentials for the Vegas Radio Row. That's interesting that you can get rooms at that rate. But
I think that was like a one-shot thing.
I know. I'm saying even
you might be staying in Laughlin.
I'm saying even the fact that you can do that's interesting. Like, I know she gets hooked up, but I thought it's usually because it's like a down weekend or this and that. Like Super Bowl week, like that's
Super Bowl week in Las Vegas, and they're offering this woman. The guy's apologizing because he couldn't give her the rooms for nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, that is nothing.
That is nothing. That's like paying the room tax. And
it's like even better than the Visser rate. Visser would get this stupid ass rate because he would book the room like 7 years before they even got the Super Bowl, just because he heard that city may get the Super Bowl.
He used insider trading to save himself money on hotel rooms.
Like, that's better than that rate.
Remember the size of that room in San Francisco? That was really something. Literally, you could not. Your knees were hitting the wall when you were on the toilet. It was crazy, right? How about that elevator too? That was
that was the best.
That was a trip. Hey, we used to do whatever we had to do. I think it went underappreciated there. But would you say that that's true? By the powers that be at 940 Wins and iHeartRadio?
Oh, for sure.
They should have been on their hands and knees thanking us for the job that we did. Not that I need this kind of gratuitous behavior, but nonetheless, I mean, not even like a hey, nice job once in a while. Right, we schlep out there on our own dime, luckily, being supported by our sponsors, but it was never quite enough to really, cover the whole thing. Because look, you're going to go out of bounds there with your budget out of town there for 4 or 5 days, especially, trying a few of the city's finer restaurant establishments. Imagine going with Mayo. I mean,
oh God, that's the thing.
Well, he might find a way to get everything for free.
I was trying to loop him in because maybe he could pull a move.
He could. Send me that thing with this 171,000 views. If you can send me some evidence of that on a text, because I will be with some people today that would be curious to see if that was really working. And that's a massive number, Lubie, is it not?
Yes. I mean, not all of them do that. Most of them are the number you around. Well, they're still higher than the number you saw, but they're around that number. But there is 116,000, which is a nice number. And then another one that I don't know what I'm trying to figure out what we did that day, but it's 171,000.
We're learning this game. I mean, it's taken us 2 years to get to the point where we're still nowhere, but we are learning this game.
We're still nowhere.
I plan on having everything on track by the time we get to the Super Bowl, and I'm going to close a bunch of deals out there. That's my new goal. All right, so closing the show there on the baseball game, and sorry to get into our personal business here, but which I don't know how much interest it is to the sports fans out there. But this was Willie Mays, Vic Wertz, was it not? This one's for Jim Sarney. This reference. Was it not the Willie Mays? I mean, it wasn't the over-the-shoulder basket catch that he made at the Polo Grounds, which were it not for the fact, and this is a big difference in where baseball is today, I guess. And look, you can't expect things to stay the same. It's not going to be. I'm sorry, Dave. It's not going to be like the 50s and the 60s anymore. You may as well let go of that image. But when we were kids, and Andy can relate to this, and many of the others that are up there in the senior citizen category, like I am, we knew the dimensions of every ballpark back in the day. And they were quirky. It wasn't like, I remember in the 70s, they started building all of these ballparks with uniformity, where, they were symmetrical all the way around. It was 325 down the line. It was 376 in both gaps. It was field. The wall was just a perfect, sort of sphere, angling out as you got towards center field, creating more distance for possible home runs to have to travel. But the Polo Grounds, I believe, and I mean, go ahead and trash me on the chat line if I'm way off on this. I think it was over 600 feet to dead center field. What was it not? Was it something like 600 feet, posted there on the sign, dead center field at the Polo Grounds? Now, I attended games there. Yeah. Did you see the Bobby Thompson home run? No, I guess I was, 3 years old when that took place? No, I guess I might have been 5, right? What was that night? Was that 56?
Jesus, really? 410 to center? Holy shit.
610, I think it was. Does it say that Polo Grounds 610 to center? Was that right?
It can't be 610.
I think it was.
That no one ever hit home. They didn't ever.
I think Lou Brock hit one to dead center field. I don't know.
think you can. I don't think anyone's ever hit a home run that's 600.
Well, anyway, Willie's running and running and running. It's like he's running a 100-yard dash, and he makes this over-the-shoulder catch off a shot by Vic Wirtz. And then subsequently, in like one smooth, fluid motion, turns and fires the ball back into second base and ends up holding the runners. I believe it might have been first and second when he made the catch. Maybe one runner tagged up and went to third. That's possible.
It's saying it was center 450, right center was 483. Is what they're saying.
483. Think about that.
Pretty far. Like they don't really want you hitting a home run.
That's like a par 5. Brooks Koepka couldn't hit one out there if he had a golf ball on a tee at home plate. Yeah, it was a long way, and so
was stupid. It was like high school. Left was 279 and right was 258.
The right field, the left field corner was unbelievable. Frank Thomas, when he was with the Mets, he must have banked like 30 of his. I think he hit 30 some odd home runs that first year with the Mets. Frank Thomas, and he must have hit like 25 of them off, like the foul pole there, that 250 down the line. It was weird, too. You would see like a shortstop going out to catch a pop-up. You know how the 3 guys converge? You got the left fielder coming in. You got the shortstop going out. You got the third baseman with his back to the plate. And they would all converge, and then the ball would drop into the stands. It was crazy. I mean, 250 down the left field line. It was kind of like if they were going to play baseball at the Orange Bowl. Remember when that was a consideration? Mm. Very much. I mean, the Orange Bowl would have been the Polo Grounds too. Yeah. But that being said, this guy Michael Harris makes a catch. You had Austin Riley give the Braves. The Braves are losing, and it looks like they're going to be down 0-2 in the series. They're down 4-0. Wheeler's on the mound. He's pitching just like he did against the Marlins. He seems to be in pretty much complete command of this ball game. Eventually you're thinking, all right, the Braves with all these home run hitters. How many guys did they have that hit 30 plus home runs this year? It was
6.
Some ridiculous number. Was it 6?
Yeah, it was like 6.
Okay, and they had Olsen hit like 57. You got Acuna, your leadoff hitter. He's hitting 40 home runs. Austin Riley had 37 home runs, I think, during the regular season. Just about everybody in the lineup. All B's hit a lot of home runs. Second baseman.
Yep.
I mean, your second baseman, holy Davy Johnson. What are we talking about here?
That's nuts.
Is hitting 40 home runs or close to it. I think he might have been in the 30s. All B's, but. Nonetheless, they hadn't had a homer until Travis d'Arnaud, a Met castoff. Remember, the Mets thought that this guy was going to be something, and he was like hitting $170 for his tenure there with the Mets. He finally didn't d'Arnaud kind of travel around. He became a little bit of a journeyman and ended up with the Braves and has done a great job there. So he gets the Braves back into the ball game with a 2-run home run. They go to the 8th inning trailing 4-3. I mean, very much
Out of it. Yeah.
On the ropes, man. Philadelphia is hot right now. They had been towards the end of the regular season. They had been to the World Series last year. They have plenty of star power on their team, plenty of veteran star power. So, they're not lacking in experience, and they were just right there in the mix. They called it unfinished business, PHIN,
Mm-hmm.
as in Philadelphia's unfinished business. And they're, holding the Braves by the jugular there, going to the eighth inning. Riley hits a 2-out, 2-run homer to give the Braves a 5-4 lead. And sure enough, coming out in the ninth, they left the left-hander to pitch to Harper, and he walked him. And then they brought in their closer with Harper on first base. So Castellanos, good power hitter for Philadelphia, smokes one to center field. This ball looks like it's going out, and this Michael Harris makes a catch like he was Willie Mays, wheels and fires the ball back into the infield. Harper was on the go right from the start because he's thinking this ball is not going to be caught.
Yeah.
And, he's going to easily bring home the tying run at that stage. And Castellanos looked like he had a certain double if it wasn't a home run all outright. And Harris makes this catch going against the wall, leaping up, fires it into the infield, and you had a walk-off double play, so to speak, as Harper gets doubled off first base after he had gone all the way around second and was halfway to third by the time the ball was caught. So just dynamite stuff to end that ball game, and it keeps the Braves' hopes far more alive, right? How much better do you feel going on the road to Philadelphia with a 1-1 series tie, having beaten Wheeler and having put him back into the rotation to maybe be a possible, would he be a Game 5 starter if it came to that, Zach Wheeler?
Yeah, you can make it happen, honestly.
Yeah. But now they go against Aaron Nola, and then Philadelphia is pretty much out of pitching for the Game 4. So. It's not like the Braves rotation looks like it's all that dynamic either. Fried was getting touched up yesterday. He had been injured, had some kind of problem with his finger that was like breaking open on his pitching hand. Braves might have to go to like a bullpen type of game also, which is very strange considering that they came into this well rested and in good shape, and you would think with every advantage going their way. In terms of, being able to stack their rotation and have everything going the way that they would like it to go. But good stuff yesterday. And then Zona, 50-1, knocks off the Dodgers. Zach Gallen, the former Marlin, the former Miami Marlins. Zach Gallen was on the mound. He was very effective. And the Zona bullpen came in there, shut down the Dodgers. What's up with that, huh? Dave Roberts was like Ralph Cramden after the game. Just trying to figure out, he boldly stated, and he's not a guy that's inclined to be freaking out anyway. It's not like you're going to get like Jim Fregosi or Hal McRae after a ball game, or some guy like Lasorda that's going to explode and say, "Well, what do you mean? You guys don't think we can win 3 in a row?" And he said, "Well, we've gone on 3-game winning streaks before, so." What do you think, Lubie? Will the Dodgers be eliminated? And are the O's toast? The Rangers would seem to be a much bigger mountain to climb for the Orioles than the Arizona Diamondbacks would be for the Dodgers. But it does look like those two teams are in just a dynamite position to advance in the postseason. 2 more games on tap today. That's going to be a lot of fun as you have Houston at Minnesota. That team, that series is tied at 1 apiece. And the Baltimore-Texas game is a night game tonight. Raiders over the Packers. That doomed my buddy Francesco, who completed a 4-10 week. It's good to be the book. No matter what happens, the guy got off to a hot start, right? And I'm thinking, maybe this is the year that he buries me. And then a week like this happens, and you go, the points will kill you. They're going to kill you one way or the other. You bet favorites and they can't cover. You bet underdogs and they win outright. It's unbelievable. What goes on when betting, but it's so much easier not to have to think, isn't it, Lubie?
Oh yeah, you just take whatever stupid ass bet he puts together. It's actually pretty smart.
But we were talking to a couple of kids. Do you remember? I was talking to a couple of kids there that were sitting across from us at Wicked Cheesesteaks the other day.
Yeah, nice guys.
So I'm asking, they were from Chicago, and they said, they were Bears fans. And I asked the kid, the Bears were playing that night. It was a Thursday night, and I asked him if he was playing the game, and what kind of incentives would he need to bet the Bears? Which he said, I don't bet anymore. I'm now a bookie.
I'm book. Yeah. He's like, I just take other people's stupid bets. He's like, it works out
He
well.
couldn't have been happier. He's on vacation in Miami, or it's not even like a break from college, is it? I mean, what is this guy doing in South Florida when he's goes to school somewhere in Chicago? Crazy, right? Bookmaking. I guess what you can have some online page, and is that legal for? I mean, we can't even get
that's legal. I mean, I guess I don't know. I thought even legal gambling is through entities. I didn't think it just anyone could be like a casino.
Florida's the only state where legal gambling is illegal. Like it's legal, but it's illegal at the same time. Confusion. That's what it's all about here in the Sunshine State. And the way things are going, right? I love it here, but is it only a matter of time before everybody goes Gordon Soley and says, "So long" to the Sunshine State?
Exactly.
All right, we're going to come back. Glenn Geffner is going to join us. We always love talking to Glenn. I don't know that we got deeply enough into the baseball thing, as we were just ensconced in football yesterday, and so we want to give that a shot and get his analysis. Of course, everybody's disappointed. Sandy Alcantara going to be out all of next year for the Marlins. Tommy John surgery, and Glenn had posted a picture. He does some good work online here with his column that he does, and posted a picture of Sandy there with the thing and the contraption, and you're looking and going, that is not favorable. That is not favorable at all. Speaking of contraptions, Lubie, actually, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I did hit the tennis courts last night, and coming off like a year layoff at 72 in any sport, probably not your best advantage. Fucking pickleball courts were calling my name. Just you can do this, Defo. You don't have to move.
Probably can't. You don't have to move.
Oh my God! All right, let's get to Glenn, and then later on, we will also be talking to Mr. Schwab, right?
Frank Schwab from Yahoo.
Frank Schwab, yeah,
writer, yeah.
Haven't been on his first name. Hockey season starts tonight too.
Oh wow!
Are we going to have Reno from Heritage be our hockey analyst?
I can. Mayo's really, it's so funny because every time we bring him up, Mayo's like, I don't know. And then Sarni talks to him and Reno's like, yeah, he really would love to do stuff with you.
Mayo's weird about people.
Mayo.
He just is.
I'm like, what? I'm like, why would
Mayo's so out there in space.
Put him on there. Like, he was great. And if he's willing to give us any of this,
I'd put him on. He's animated. I mean, that's what it's all about. If he knew nothing about hockey, it would still be fun, right?
How do I care? So anyway, yeah, but his brother-in-law is Roberto Luongo. So he probably has been to games. He's probably seen as much as we've seen.
I think he's one of those guys that would be perfect to talk about hockey, even if he had the same kind of peripheral knowledge that we do.
Yeah, like what the fuck do I know?
The Panthers, by the way, start out their defense of the Eastern Conference title tonight. Is everybody playing in the league? You have a ton of games here. There'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games tonight. The Panthers actually begin tomorrow, Thursday night. Oh, this is Wednesday. Tonight they only have 3 games. Okay, they bunched 3 days together here, Libby. I didn't notice that. I thought the whole league was going to be unveiled tonight. You do have the number 1 overall pick, Connor Bedard, is going to debut tonight against Pittsburgh for the Chicago Blackhawks. So that should be fun, and there are a bunch of prop bets already on that. Now would also be the time to dive in. If you were an Orioles backer, think about this, Louis. They're now 16-1 to win the AL pennant.
Oh, there you go.
Isn't this the time, right? If you're a really gutsy gambler, you wait till they're in the most compromising position, like the most impossible one-way out type of position, and then you go ahead and unload on your favorite team. All right, coming back with more in a moment here. As we'll bring on Glenn Geffner, Frank Schwab later on football. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz with you, the Defo Show, which amazingly is astoundingly popular, at least the no-filter version. If you only had one show that drew 171,000 views in a couple of days, that wouldn't be bad, would it, Lubie?
Oh, it'd be great. What do you mean that? Those are insane. Been our best shows on 5 Reasons. Never did. I mean, we've had some that did like 6,000, but I don't think we've had anything approach 16 or
You,
100,000.
you think that happened under the auspices of a few people watched it and they all contacted a lot of people and said, you got to see this clown?
I have no idea, but whatever it is, that means it can be duplicated. So that works for me.
I'm telling you, we're going to make it in this business, Lubie. I know we're going to make it.
That's good.
It's a recreation. The old man still has it. I tell myself every day on the walk of life, you still got it, thief. You still got it, thief. Just keep walking. You still got it. You still got it. All right, back with Glenn Geffner. I know he has it, man. This guy's great. And he's going to join us here in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:33. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
You know, people don't like being lied to. That's always the thing. But Pete Rose, if he had just said, of course I bet the Reds. What are you talking about? I had money on every game. We know you did, Pete. It's all right. I mean, now it'd be accepted. In fact, they would have it's only a matter of time before the manager of the two teams is asked who he likes in the game. All right, we're going down on the field there. We got Tony La Russa. Tony, what do you think tonight? White Sox minus 135? Well, you know, we're going to go to the pen right away, and I'm going to make like 7 righty-lefty switches at inappropriate times, and I'm going to wear out my bullpen. In fact, all of these guys worked in the game last night, so I would think this. I would take the points, take the runs, and take the price on the Boston Red Sox tonight to beat us. I would not lay 135 to win 100 on the Chicago White Sox. Okay, thanks, Tony. Let's go to Alex Cora. Cora, what do you got? Well, you know, we got all our heavy hitters at the beginning of the lineup tonight, and they really pound this White Sox pitcher the last time he was out there. So I would think that we're a good bet, money line, straight up. When's that going to happen? I mean, that's going to be part of the pregame shows now.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show on this Tuesday morning edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and joining us right now. And it's always a pleasure to have this gentleman on the program. We love talking baseball with this guy. I mean, it's like having Bill James, Tommy Lasorda, and Vin Scully all rolled up into one. Glenn Geffner, longtime play-by-play man in Major League Baseball. Of course, we grew to love him as the play-by-play voice on the radio for the Miami Marlins, and did a great job there, and now writing and has taken over the internet when it comes to baseball coverage. Glenn Geffner joins us on the program. Glenn, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Great to be with you guys, and appreciate the nice introduction. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, tell people where they can find your stuff, because I see it pops up on Facebook for me, and it looks fascinating, Glenn. So, you know, for the baseball fans out there that really don't get this kind of coverage, and you go into great detail and depth on a lot of things, where can they find the columns that you're putting out?
Well, thanks. I started a Substack just before opening day this year. You can go to glengeffner.substack.com. I always tweet out what I write every day. I put it out on Facebook as well. And there's a lot of Marlins coverage on there, a lot of Major League Baseball coverage in general. We're in the middle right now of a series of 10 burning questions the Marlins face this offseason, looking ahead to next year. Wrote a playoff notebook, some interesting nuggets about different teams in the playoffs a couple of days ago. So there's a good mix of stuff from day to day, hard news, analytics, features, perspective, opinion pieces, things like that. And it's been fun, and the feedback has been terrific. So it's been nice doing something a little bit different this season, and we'll see where it all goes.
I remember telling my son, a piece of advice. I rarely doled out fatherly advice, but, because my dad was very cool about this kind of stuff. And, his philosophy was live and let live, that your children will find their way, and they're going to be who they are. Just try to be a good influence. But I remember when I dropped my son off at the University of Central Florida for his first day of school, I looked him and in the eye, and I said, Jesse, when it comes to romance, just lower your standards a little bit. Because you're going from being like a pretty cool guy in high school to being freshman puke, and you might have to lower your standards. And that's kind of the philosophy that we had applied to the Marlins over the years, as you well know. Where the season was just as compelling as we were trying to follow the Marlins in their drive for 75 wins as it would have been if they had won the World Series, at least, from our standpoint. But standards weren't very high for the Marlins this year. How would you characterize? I mean, I thought it was a great season. We've been living and dying with every pitch for a long time, but that was as much, entertainment as you could possibly gather from following a baseball team, which is part of the fun of being a baseball fan, what we got from the Marlins this year.
I think you're right. And what you have to realize is if you don't live in New York or in a handful of other cities, it's not did you win the World Series or not this year that defines whether or not it's season success. Bottom line is if you would have gone back to March and told people, okay, this Marlins team is going to finish above 500, which they haven't done in a full season since 2009, they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to get bounced in the first round by the Phillies, I think anybody would have signed up for that. And you're right. There was a lot to be excited about with this team this year. Certainly the arrival of Yuri Perez was something that bodes very well for the Marlins' future. This team had a knack for winning tight games, pulling games out late. They never seemed to be out of games. They had a great fighting spirit. It was a fun team to watch. And so they won 84 games. They got to the playoffs. They were beaten by a better Phillies team. And you hope now they can build on that as you look ahead to 2024 and beyond. They do have a lot of questions they're going to face moving forward. Success in baseball, I think people need to remember this, isn't always linear. It's not that you win 78 games one year and 84 the next and 90 the year after that and 96 after that. They're going to be one step forward, two step back situations. And guys are going to get hurt. Guys are not going to perform as well as they did the year before. Others are going to excel who you might not have expected it from. So just because the Marlins went from where they were in 2022 to where they were this year doesn't necessarily portend a championship season in 2024, but they're on the right track, it would seem, if they invest, if they make some of the right moves, and if they continue to work to improve this ball club.
Well, and that's where I was going with it is by any metric, it was a success, especially winning 69 last year. What they did in the offseason felt cosmetic for the most part. But in season, they did get aggressive. The moves seemed to work. It got them into the playoffs. They overcame a really long losing streak after the break. Something that they, in the past, if they had a losing streak like that in the middle of the year, would have doomed the season. So the fact that they were able to have resiliency was pretty cool to see. Schumacher sort of kept them together. Ang really did a good job this season. But my question to you was just that. Did this set them up going forward? Because it feels like they have some pieces, but the lineup still to me is and the rotation has a lot of interesting parts, but we're still waiting on Mayer. We now Alcantara, who knows what the hell he's going to be going forward. Sixto is off in the wings somewhere. Garrett, you're lucky to get that from Garrett, but what is Garrett? Luzardo was nice, but he's more of a fourth or a fifth star. He's not a first. There's a lot of question marks to me where you would love to see this team build on this season, but we've never had that. As a Marlin fan, you have 1 year and then nothing. 1 year and then nothing. Do you see this being the base of a future winning ball club?
Well, it's a very good question. And kind of the last point I made, you just can't assume that next year's going to be better than this year. And for some of the reasons you pointed out, so this team won 84 games, got to the playoffs. They were dead last in the National League in runs scored. And they've been at the bottom of the league. If you add up every year since Bruce Sherman bought the team in 2018, they've been at the bottom of Major League Baseball in scoring runs over the last 6 seasons. They've got to be better there. And this is actually something I wrote about just this morning. You look at the lineup this year that was dead last in the National League in runs scored. That was with Jorge Soler hitting 36 home runs and slugging, I think, .512. That was with Josh Bell coming in at the deadline and making a major impact over the last 2 months. Both of those guys have opt-outs. So there's a chance that both of those guys are going to be gone next year. So now you try to improve the lineup and you say, well, we need to replace Soler and Bell just to get back to where we were, which was last in runs scored in the National League. Then you need more on top of that. If you bring Soler and Bell back, assuming they opt out, it's going to be on multi-year contracts for much more money than they were already making. So now you're already increasing your payroll. How much do you increase it beyond that? I've spoken at length with you guys and certainly in writing about the Marlins' lack of starting pitching depth, and it caught up with them down the stretch this year. They really only had 2 starting pitchers the last couple of weeks of the season, Braxton Garrett and Jesus Luzardo, who you mentioned, Lubie. Now you know what we feared, that Sandy Alcantara is going to miss all of 2024. They need more starting pitching, and you just can't assume that Trevor Rogers, who made 4 starts this past season, is going to come back and be a star, because really outside of the first half of 2021, he's never been an above-average major league pitcher. If you take away what he did in the first half of 2021, Rogers in his career, I'm doing this off the top of my head, is 5-20 with an ERA north of 5 outside of that half of the season. You know, you can't assume that Max Meyer, who's made 2 big league starts and has now missed a year and a half after Tommy John, is going to step in and be a stalwart in a major league rotation. He's going to be limited innings-wise anyway, coming back from Tommy John surgery. Certainly you can't assume anything from Sixto Sanchez going into next year. So as it was, this team needed to add starting pitching. And, you know, I just don't think all the answers are here right now. They're going to have to spend some money. They're going to have to make some trades. They're going to have to be creative to improve this team, because the bottom line is it was a great year, 84 wins, but they're nowhere near the Braves. They're nowhere near the Phillies. And the Mets, even though they made some trades, aren't exactly going away. And I continue to contend the Nationals are getting better and are going to be in the hunt sooner rather than later. So, you know, let's be real for a second. 84 wins, made the playoffs, great year. You got 12 teams in the playoffs now. You didn't always have 12 teams in the playoffs. The Marlins had a lot more margin for error. There aren't many years where you would have made the playoffs with 84 wins in the history of the sport. So there still is a lot of work to be done. And now you mentioned Kim Ng had a very good year. I agree. One of the team's priorities has to be to give her a contract extension. Her contract is going to end at the end of this year, reportedly. And that was actually the first of my 10 burning questions in the series I wrote. Will the Marlins get Kim Ng to return on hopefully a fair market contract and let her continue to do the work that she started? But she's doing a very good job for the most part. She hasn't batted 1,000. No GM does. But she's taken this team a good distance in the 2 years that she's had complete autonomy since Derek Jeter left.
Been impressive, and those moves at the trade deadline, will not be overlooked, I would imagine, even in, executive of the year considerations. Jake Berger and Josh Bell, Robertson didn't work out as well, but those 2 guys definitively provided a spark to the offense that without which I can't imagine that the Marlins would have made the postseason. One final thing on the Marlins, and we want to get into the playoffs and what's happening right now. And you dealt with this, I'm sure. I mean, it wasn't as much of a visual, but I've done my share of play-by-play, and it's always great when you have an electrified crowd. A lot easier to call a ball game as you have the ambient sound of the crowd that you can play off, and also help you raise appropriately your level of emotion in terms of how you're delivering the play-by-play. I've worked in front of UM basketball. We did in front of like 4 people, for many years, and you could hear the sneakers squeaking on the floor in the background, and that was the background noise you had on the radio. But is it somewhat alarming? I mean, I don't know. How slow of a process would this be? I mean, you had a team that was in contention right to the wire, and they play a big series against the Mets, normally a good draw, and they have like 8,000-9,000 people in the stands. How tragic of a circumstance is that? And do you think that will ever be overcome by this organization?
It is really alarming, Defo. And while they will talk about averaging 3,000 fans per game more this year than they did last year, the bar wasn't set very high last year.
No.
They were still 29th in Major League Baseball in attendance this year, with a team that not only won, but played really exciting ball, as you mentioned at the very outset here. This is a fun team to watch. A bunch of guys who would seem to be pretty easy to get behind and support. And you're right, when it's September and you're in the thick of a race, and you've got 8,000-9,000 people in the ballpark. I know it was a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. I know kids are back in school, but it was Tuesday and Wednesday night, and kids are back in school in every other major league market also.
Sure.
And the bottom line is over 162. This team was 29th in attendance again. And the question I'd always ask is, okay, what will happen when and if this team wins? Will people then finally show up? You've heard every excuse in the book for decades in this market. And unfortunately, while, yes, there was an increase from last year, it wasn't that substantial. And so now you wonder what happens going into next year. You know, people say, well, yeah, they won, but prove it to us they can do it again. Can they sustain? You know, the bar keeps moving, it feels like. And I would start to get pretty nervous at this point. After the season we just saw, with the kind of exciting baseball and winning baseball they played and meaningful games at home in September, it's concerning. And I'll be honest with you, I was wondering when people were talking so much about Tampa Bay's attendance for the 2 playoff games at the Trop that they had, what's going to happen if the Marlins advance and they play in the NLDS, where the schedule would have their home games on weeknights or during the week, maybe even weekdays potentially. How will they draw? Can they sell out Lone Depot Park? Will the crowds be in the 20s? What will they be? Because certainly the recent history has not been very good. And so if you are at the top of the Marlins organization right now, yes, I would be very concerned. We'll see what happens with season ticket sales moving ahead to next year. We'll see what happens with group sales. But, you know, they've got something to build on, but now they've got to convert that into people who buy tickets and fill the ballpark and create a great atmosphere. And one last point on that, that makes a difference when you try to bring in a free agent. Guys want to play in an atmosphere like Atlanta. They want to play in an atmosphere like Philadelphia. They want to play in a market where they know if they have a great year, they've got a really good shot to get elected to an all-star team. And I know Luis Ariz did that this year. But in talking over the years with a lot of the very prominent players who have left the Marlins for one reason or another, they talk about that a lot. And when they come back, they say, oh, I don't miss this. It's tough to play in an atmosphere like that. And you can see what even having 20, 25,000 people in the ballpark occasionally this year did, and how much that improved the ambiance around Lone Depot. So we'll see if they can convert this into more fans next year, but it's a tremendous challenge.
No doubt. I mean, and it's not like this is new. You know, and I've often told the story. 2003, it was September 1st. The Marlins, I believe, at the time, in a year where they would go on to win the World Championship, or I think 5 games behind Philly for what was at that time the lone wild card position that could be attained. And they must have run out of celebrities, Glenn, because somehow I was tabbed to throw out the ceremonial first pitch at the Marlin game. It was an afternoon game. Yeah, it was an afternoon game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, you know, I think they'd already played the anthem. You know, people should have been in their seats by then. You know, it's a few minutes before game time. I'm standing out there on the mound, and I'm looking around. There could have been 3,000 people in the ballpark. And we know by the time they got around to the postseason, their tickets were hard to come by. So, you know, this being the glamour event-oriented town that it is, I would imagine they do well in the postseason. But I don't know that solves their overall problem of you know, lack of cash flow. And so, you know, Bruce Sherman may not get his money back till he eventually sells the team. All right, last night's game. What was it? Vic Wertz with the fly ball at the Polo Grounds to Willie Mays. What? I mean, how much more exciting could that get? I actually flipped away from the game after Harper walked because I had action on the Monday Night Football game. You'll find that a bit of a surprise. And I thought, well, they're bringing in the closer. Let me flip back and see what's going on in the football game. And by the time I got back to the baseball game, it was over. And I thought, okay, the guy must have gone, you know, through a 1-2-3 routine after Harper reached base. Only to find out later on that this Harris made just an unbelievable catch, Michael Harris, and turned it into a double play. About as good as it gets. I mean, you literally had the Braves on the same, you know, ropes that, you know, the Orioles and the Dodgers now find themselves in.
And don't overlook the play that Austin Riley, the Braves third baseman, made to back up the throw from Harris. Got away in the infield, and somehow he's standing behind second base, fields that ball, and throws the complete double play on Bryce Harper. That was a terrific play by Austin Riley. I watch a lot of college football, and as that game got late last night, I couldn't help but think the 8th inning, Phillies are 4-3. They've got to take a knee. Just take a knee. And yet, they didn't take a knee. Unfortunately, in baseball, you're not able to do that. But that really was something. And I mentioned the atmosphere at Truist Park earlier. I found something this morning that there was actually seismic activity that registered near the ballpark. Right?
Wow.
I'm not joking. I saw something on Twitter this morning with the graphs that's how loud Truist Park got last night when the Braves ended that game. First with a home run to go ahead in the bottom of the 8th, and that double play that ended Michael Harris second. Remarkable. And, it's easy to fault Bryce Harper there, but he's trying to make an aggressive play to win the game. He's trying to make sure he scores when that ball gets over Harris's head. Now, the thing was, Harris was positioned very deep to begin with there, playing no doubles, because an extra base hit probably would have ended the game. Were he at regular depth, the ball would have gotten over his head, and Harper would have scored with the early break. But that was what playoff baseball is all about. And that was the one series, if you got there, Atlanta, Philadelphia, I was looking forward to the most in the postseason this year. And it's delivered so far. And I guess now maybe we can end the talk about the Braves being toast because they had 6 days off or whatever it was between the end of the regular season and the start of the playoffs, because that was a big win for them last night. And now they've got the momentum as they go back into Philadelphia.
I saw some of this fetching. We were talking about it before you came on earlier this morning, Glenn, where there was an article I saw on CBS Sportsline that people are questioning the format of the Major League Baseball postseason right now. I would think it would be just a humongous advantage for the team that sat out the first round of the playoffs, because of the fact that your pitching rotation is exactly where you would like it to be. Maybe they got a little ring rust or whatever. I don't know if that was the case with Kershaw. He's had his problems in the postseason, but certainly it didn't look sharp. Fried last night, he's been dealing with a finger problem, so I'm not sure if that impacted him, but he certainly wasn't on his best stuff, from the first inning on, and was able to escape without the game getting out of hand. But wouldn't you think it would be a big advantage for the team that had to bye? I mean, to sit out that first series, and I understand the whole business about staying sharp and being involved and playing under this kind of pressure maybe is a springboard for more success, but I would think there's nothing wrong with the format. That it would be a big edge for the team that's sitting there at home and able to have their starters working in the bullpen there to stay ready and come out 1-2 with your premier starters.
Well, here's the bottom line for me. If you get that first round bye, you have to win 2 fewer games than everybody else to win the World Series. Yep. And I think that's a compelling argument. You don't have to win as many games. If the ultimate goal is to win the World Series, it's easier for you to do that without having to win those 2 extra games where anything can happen in that wild card series. Just ask the Brewers, just ask other teams that were expected to win that didn't win, the Blue Jays against Minnesota in the American League. So I'm with you, setting up the rotation. The Phillies didn't have access to either of their top 2 starting pitchers for game 1 of the series. They won the game nonetheless. There are going to be upsets, and that's the reality. And look, we go back, Defo, you and I go back to a time before I don't really go back literally before 1969, but there was a time where there was no playoff. There was a World Series. The AL champion played the NL champion. You had to win 4 games. You won the World Series. And then they went to 2 divisions and added the LCS, best of 5, starting in 1969. And then you got into 3 divisions in the 1990s. They added the wild card. Things changed. So you have to win 4 games to win the World Series. Now you got to survive a gauntlet. And over the course of trying to survive a gauntlet, there are going to be upsets. And I've said forever, it's not the best team that wins the World Series every year. It's a team that plays best in October. So it's about peaking at the right time. It's about being set up to win short series. And some teams are better suited to do that than others. But there are going to be upsets. There's nothing you can do to eliminate upsets. And if people are screaming about the D-backs winning the first 2 games against the Dodgers, well, the Dodgers need to play better. If they lose, they lost. I mean, it's as simple as that to me. If you're upset about upsets, why even play the games? Let's just, whoever has the best record at the end of the season is the World Series champion. There's a reason why there's a tournament. If you're going to open it up to 12 teams now, there are going to be some teams in the playoffs that clearly are not as good as some of the teams at the top. But baseball is baseball. And in any given short series, the Oakland Athletics can sweep the Atlanta Braves. The worst team in baseball can sweep the best team in baseball, because that happened in September of this year. The A's swept the Braves, and it can happen in October.
No, it was, sort of a stunner to see. I'm a Kershaw fan. I don't know about you, but, I always liked Clayton Kershaw. He always seemed like a stand-up guy. I guess even after he got just torched and only got one guy out, third of an inning, 6 runs in the opener, and it was another playoff catastrophe for him. The word was he just stood at the locker. I guess Costas might have referenced this last night, answered every question, didn't dodge anything, just said he sucked and he would have to get better. But it was certainly a shock. And Arizona, Lubie and I were onto something. We were sniffing around about the idea of maybe betting the Marlins at 50-1 to win the World Series. The other team that was 50-1 was the Arizona Diamondbacks. And how the hell are they doing that, Glenn? It's good to see Zach Gallen, the former Marlin, out there doing well, just like it is seeing Pablo with Minnesota. That kind of gives us. It's always good to have a rooting interest in other teams through guys that you love that your team got rid of. But
Nathan Eovaldi was Texas also. So those 3 guys.
Yeah, Eovaldi also. He goes tonight.
Eovaldi, and Lopez. I think they're combined 5-0 in the postseason so far.
Yes, the Marlin factor. It's the anti-reverse Cub factor.
Right.
But I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, was this a team that should have not been ignored, or is it just circumstance where the Dodgers had plenty of opportunities last night to win that ball game, could not come through with any kind of clutch hits. The aptly named Outman hitting 8th for the Dodgers. My God, I mean, came up in a big spot, struck out. He struck out 3 times in a game, but they're just not performing. I mean, they happen to go flat at a bad time.
Well, and Arizona was there for most of the season. They were the number 1 wild card team in the National League for a good chunk of the year, and they didn't play very well down the stretch, and that's how they fell ultimately into the last wild card spot behind the Marlins, when it was kind of assumed that the Marlins were going to be the number 6 seed if they got in. They were able to leapfrog Arizona at the very end, because Arizona, like the Cubs, like the Giants, just kind of collapsed down the stretch. But when you have Zach Gallen and when you have Merrill Kelly, those two atop your rotation, you've got a shot. And you look at the Dodgers, they won 100 games this year. They ran away with the division, and yet they've got major, major pitching issues. You talked about Clayton Kershaw, who's had a bad shoulder. His velocity is way down. He's throwing 87, 88 miles per hour. He's barely hanging on. He's out there on guts and guile. And
I thought it was Randy Jones. I really did. When I was
seriously, yeah, the great RJ. It doesn't work as fast as Randy Jones used to work for the Padres back in the day. But Clayton Kershaw is not the Clayton Kershaw that we watched over the last 15 years. At the moment, he's doing the best he possibly can. Then you got a bunch of rookies after that, because Walker Buehler never threw a pitch this year. They've lost Julio Urias. They lost Dustin May. I think at one point or another, they had 9 different starting pitchers go down this season, the Dodgers. So they're just trying to sneak their way through on the strength of Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and hope the pitching is good enough. But they're not exactly flying high into October. And the D-backs are taking advantage of that right now. Now, can the Dodgers come back and win 3 in a row? Hasn't happened often. It has happened. I was with the Red Sox when they were able to do that in a postseason series against Oakland in a division series. I was with the Red Sox when they were down 3-0 and beat the Yankees in the ALCS in 2004, which has never been done in baseball history outside of that one series. So it's possible that it can be done still. But the D-backs have Merrill Kelly going in Game 3. And for the Dodgers, it's a coin flip after you get past Kershaw. And even Kershaw at this point isn't a shell of what he once was. So you feel for the guy. You talk about him standing in front of his locker answering all the questions. That might have been the last time he pitches in the big league. Might have been the last time he pitches at Dodger Stadium. You don't know what the future holds for him with all that he's been through physically in recent years. He's had a lot of back issues as well. So obviously a very emotional time for him, but it's a first ballot Hall of Famer who's just trying to find a way. And it didn't work for him the other night. And the D-backs jumped on LA early. They stole Game 1, running away. And then all of a sudden, you score 3 in the first again last night. And The D-backs have all the confidence in the world. The Dodgers are thinking, we might be in some trouble here. And now they got to go into Phoenix. And you can bet that the ballpark will be electric when they get into Arizona tomorrow.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Whenever May pitches, I can't help but think I'm watching Weird Al Yankovic with a mitt. I mean, does he still have the hair sticking out? I guess we didn't see much of him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, that's great.
He's
Freaky
alive.
looking redhead. Yeah, it's Alexei Lalas with baseball spikes on. Glenn, always a pleasure, my friend. Once again, where can people find your excellent stuff? I mean, very, very compelling stuff that you're putting out there with all of your internet work.
Thank you. You can go to glengeffner.substack.com. Most of my stuff is subscription only, $5 a month, discounted rate of $50 for the year. Some of my material is free. But I appreciate those who have been supporting my work, and I appreciate you guys for the kind words. It's always fun talking baseball with you.
Always great, my friend, and we do miss you. I happened to be in a car at the tail end of that Mets game that got suspended, which we were watching very carefully with the Marlins needing to get a win there. And unfortunately, I mean, there was a big gap in terms of the actual knowledge of the situation. And what was being imparted on the radio. And we were all screaming, "Where's Geffner?" Because that would not have been lost on you what was going to happen in that spot there. And there was like a half hour of speculation. And it was enough to have me confused.
No comment, people. I'll leave you with a no comment on that. But thank
I don't blame you. You have to stay out of that, be diplomatic.
I've heard that from a lot of people, and I appreciate it. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it was unfortunate, and I root for everybody, but that was just a huge dip in the professional level that was being imparted on the airwaves from when you were doing the broadcast. So, thanks so much, Glenn. Always a pleasure, my friend, and we love having you on the show. We'll hope to talk again before the postseason concludes.
Yes.
Thanks, Defo. Thanks, Lubie. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks a lot, Glenn Geffner, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to rag on anybody, that's doing this, for a living. Do you, Lubie? I mean, there are enough, just easy targets there, like, the Stephen A. Smiths of the universe, where you're asking yourself. I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about Pat McAfee? Does he fall into this category for you? Where you're just wondering. I understand the fascination. McAfee actually, I think, has more appeal to me. Stephen A. is great because as a caricature of himself, it's fantastic. I don't know how the guy can do it. Do you? Just go in these rants, and he's not really like that. When you meet him personally.
Not to that level, no. I mean, he's definitely loquacious. I talked to him at the finals a couple times. The year when the Heat first played the Spurs.
Yeah.
And he's definitely talkative, but he's not like angry.
No. I mean, actually, I remember meeting him, at a Radio Row that was here in Miami when the what was that? The Colts and the Bears Super Bowl, like years and years ago, when it looked like that was going to be our last Super Bowl because it rained, Roger. Oh my God, you believe that? At what expense to the city of Las Vegas? I guess they don't care, right? They're just printing money there. But at what expense to the city of Las Vegas do you think that this stadium came about that got them a Super Bowl within, 4 or 5 years? How long has that stadium been erected? Like 3 years, maybe?
I think it's like 4 years.
4 years? Yeah. Looks spectacular, Louis. Were you not curious? Did you watch any of the Monday Night Football game?
Oh,
when
yeah.
they took the shots of the arena from the outside? You thought, wow. That would be great to be inside this place. And we all know what they've done with hockey.
2020, 3 years ago, as you said, 2020.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, be curious to, taking a game inside that stadium. Much like I would think as part of, being a big fan of sporting atmospheres, at some point in time, Louis, do we not need to, at least for a regular season game, get out there and see the Golden Knights play a hockey game?
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, we've talked with our buddy Joe Beja about it. He's a huge fan of the Golden Knights, so I'm sure the experience is amazing.
But we don't have the ticket connection anymore. Our guy left there.
Oh well, it's not like
he's now with like Manchester United or something. And isn't it strange that since he's no longer of any value to us in terms of scoring us free tickets for a Golden Knights game, I'm blanking on his last name. I've known this guy for like 40 years. All right, we're going to come back with more. We have some football to discuss. That was great with Glenn Geffner, man. Very authoritative baseball voice. Frank Schwab, YahooSports.com. He's been a long-time favorite of ours as a guest on the show, and he's going to join us about 20 after, so we'll come back with more. In a moment here on the Defo Show, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz with you. I'm still stunned by that numerology that you passed along. I saw that, and I couldn't believe it. That was the thing, Lubie. We're not used to that. I thought it was some kind of misprint.
No, I mean, we're on these outlets for a reason. I expected to get numbers eventually like that.
Who gets Caffeine TV? Does anybody get this?
I mean, it's online.
I never heard of it. Did you?
It's called Caffeine TV, so you presume it is on televisions, but
I presume it's there for like meth addicts, no?
I don't think so. I found it online. I mean, a website that has a lot of programming. So
I actually thought it was Cocaine TV when I first saw it, and I was like, well, no, that's caffeine.
It's not Cocaine TV.
I just glanced at it. All right, well, that's good, man. If that's enhancing our cause to that level, then, I'm more excited than ever about doing this shit.
That's the reason we're doing stuff for them every day. Like, I figured it would get us numbers. I was just curious, what they were. Yeah, I haven't really
we were used to like double digits, not anything along the line of six figures there, Mike Lubitz. All right, we're going to come back with more in a moment with a reinvigorated approach to this whole thing after seeing that. Even if that was a fluke, you have to be encouraged because you could say, hey, I did it once, right?
Yeah.
I did it once.
You can do it again. Yeah.
All right, back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 9:09.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten me sugar now.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, Lubie, we have a few minutes here before we get into some NFL talk with Frank Schwab of YahooSports.com, and he's based in Denver, so he would be able to, give us a very, very close-up indication as to what kind of things are being said there about Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and this absolutely lousy start to the season. The Denver Broncos embarrassing themselves by losing at home to the New York Jets. Those very same New York Jets that have hired Nathaniel Hackett, the former Denver coach who left the team. Didn't even make one season, Lubie, not even 1 year. Tony Sparano was around for a playoff season.
Oh, yeah.
Before we realized that he had no idea what the fuck he was doing. Larry Coker was, I'm not Larry Coker, I mean, Joe Philbin was here for 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years of Joe Philbin, right? I mean, who generates less excitement, Joe Philbin or Joe Biden? What would you say? I know the playing fields are vastly different in terms of level of importance. But,
my God. I would say
a Biden press conference is right there with a Joe Philbin press conference, is it not?
It is. I would say actually Biden's a little bit more exciting because you're always wondering
You're wondering if he's going to pass out at some point.
Stay on topic.
If he's going to go Mitch McConnell and just, as if he was on the internet somewhere with a lousy connection, just freeze like you did yesterday. That was some face you froze up with yesterday.
That's fine.
When you were on the show. All right, but this is right up your alley, Lubie. When we have a couple of minutes here, and it happened last night. And great excitement created by this as you had Wembanyama going against Holmgren. And they will be two candidates, no doubt, for Rookie of the Year. Chet Holmgren, of course, out of Gonzaga, was drafted number 2 overall a couple of years ago, and then had that microfracture thing that is like probably one of the most mysterious injuries that you could possibly look. Holy Greg Oden, what are we talking about here?
Yep.
Where you just like are never the same sometimes. We've seen it with guys, and they've gone on to have strong, solid careers where they had to sit out pretty much their entire first year after incurring this injury, and yet we've also seen it be the ruination of players. So no guarantee with Holmgren. Holmgren, kind of a skinny sort. You talk about Wembanyama having to show and demonstrate that he can stand up to the pounding that you take in the post sometimes, or at least by playing down low by the basket in the NBA from some of these animals. I mean, holy Rasheed Wallace, what is this guy in for? And they go head to head last night as the Spurs took on Oklahoma City in an NBA preseason game. Now, Holmgren was on the deck more than Joe Frazier was in Kingston, Jamaica when he fought George Foreman, where he eventually got knocked into the second row. And every time that this skinny splinter of a human being went down, if you're a fan of basketball and you would just like to see what kind of evolution we will get from this kid as a pro, because there were a lot of speculation about it. People thought he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. The Orlando Magic went with, what's his last name?
Zero, who was fucking great. So.
Yeah, he was good. Rookie of the Year. All right, so did they make a mistake? Obviously not to this point. They have a Banchero, Pablo, is it? Pablo Banchero?
Pablo Banchero, who is legit.
Doesn't he sound like he'd be a conga player in the Santana band, huh?
Like Oye, como va? I feel like he's an artist, like that from the 1920s.
Yeah.
That gets famous after he dies.
Yeah, I have a Dolly here and I have a Banchero. The Banchero is much more of a bargain, but I think the value is eventually going to escalate. Are art dealers the biggest, fucking fraudsters that you could possibly find? Well, I think this would look very good there in your gallery.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
What the hell? Then he sells you some piece of shit you could have found at a garage sale for like $8 million. And you're Leo DiCaprio and you're going, that's quite an acquisition you made there. My God. All you got to do is go to Art Basel, right? And you can see what we're talking about. Anyway, so Wembanyama looked great. Very athletic. He can threes. Holmgren actually did very well also. I think he might have outscored the Wemby man in this game. But every time I saw a highlight, he was getting knocked out. He looked like Jerry Quarry. A skinny version of that. So what do you think, Lubie? Are we looking at Russell and Wilt here? What modern day version?
I don't know about that. I know that Holmgren has a lot of talent. Look, Oklahoma City, what's interesting about them is they played pretty well without having Holmgren. So a lot of people, they're a team that can be on the ascent. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went from being almost an unknown to being an all-NBA player. So you add a big that is multifaceted in Holmgren. That's a perfect fit. I'm just always waiting for him to get hurt. He's like, that's the thing. Wembanyama looks jacked compared to Holmgren. Like, that's the thing for Wembanyama. As thin as he is, he has broad shoulders. The dude has some muscle tone. Like, you could see that he can put on size. Holmgren is like real thin and like year 2, and I don't think he's put on any size. Like, he looks exactly the same. So that's the scary part for him is he needs to put on a little bit of size. Like, the guy is really thin, and it's a little scary. But
I think Tommy Hearns had a better chin than this guy, right? And the unfortunate thing for the hitman was if you blew on his chin, he went down. Well, he survived that first round against Hagler, but you could see the legs were spaghetti there, and it was not going to be much longer before Marvin Hagler knocked him out. But literally, did you see any of these highlights? Because Holmgren, every play, he was knocked on his ass.
I didn't see it.
Although he performed very well, and he shrugged it off. It reminded me of like Ryan Tannehill when I saw him get just clobbered. In his rookie season with the Miami Dolphins. A guy gets annihilated in a preseason game, just taken out with a vicious Marvin Jones on Gina Toretta type of hit. And I'm looking to see, what this guy's reaction is going to be. They show him on the bench and he's laughing.
Yeah.
No, I thought, okay. This guy can live with a concussed head. He's very much like Troy Aikman. But they should just, hit Dolphin quarterbacks over the head with a sledgehammer as their initiation at their rookie introductory press conference. You just say, okay, now it's time to get a little bit of a feel for what it's going to be like to be back there, man.
Just set them up for
Boom!
what's
Right in the head.
if you can handle this, you can handle being
A surprise shot to the temple from out of nowhere. And if they're still, talking at the press conference after that, then, then that's my quarterback. You go Terrell Owens on the guy. Anyway, it was kind of interesting yesterday for NBA preseason. There's more of that on tap. Wow, I mean, we talked about what a sensational time of the year it is. Opening night, NHL. You do have this Connor Bedard, who's going to make his debut for the Blackhawks. This kid, Michael LaBeouf, who's in ActionNetwork.com, or writes with ActionNetwork.com, who analyzes hockey for these guys. Again, like a very eloquent. I mean, you're talking about half a page of his tabloid here, giving you all of the rationale behind the fact that Chicago has a chance to win this game in Pittsburgh, and at the same time that Connor Bedard is worth a couple of shekels that he will score on opening night. Kid's only 18 years old. I mean, this is a league of men, is it not? The NHL, this is not for the faint of heart. It's not one of these leagues where, you want to be the little kid. So I would imagine that there will be many a goon that has a picture of Connor Bedard in their wallet and is ready to just challenge to see if this guy has the kind of stuff that it takes to be a real man and play in the National Hockey League. All right, this is great. The senior NFL writer for Yahoo Sports, and also, wow, I didn't realize, the degenerate gene was so influential with Frank Schwab, who joins us right now on the line. And
putting out like tweets about like college football, and he'll do NBA and the playoffs. I remember during the Heat, they're making a run. So I'm like, I think he does a lot more than football. He's great with football, but I think he actually handles like a lot of gambling stuff with other sports as well.
So you're like us, Frank? You love the smell of point spreads in the morning?
A little bit, yeah. I dabble, put it that way.
Good to have you on the program. How are you, my friend? How have you been?
Doing well. Doing very well. This crazy NFL season as always, and it's always fun. They always make it interesting.
All right, we know you're based in Denver. What level of turmoil is taking place there right now?
Oh my goodness, I've never seen. Look, the Broncos are always the story here. Like always, like it doesn't matter what else is going on. Everybody else is not only second, but like second by 4 time zones away, right?
Yeah.
Now I've never heard people say so often, "I'm done. I'm done with this team. Why am I wasting my time? Why would I waste my time going to games? What?" And we have the NBA champions are here. Avalanche are really good.
Colorado's
we got Deion Sanders up in Boulder. So there's other sports fans out here got other things to do. And I've never heard more Broncos fans be like, I'm out. Like I'm not wasting my time with these guys anymore. The apathy is taking over. But it's like the 7 stages of grief, right? Like we're at the apathetic stage right now at the Broncos. I think that Sean Payton's one of those guys who he's really like interesting if he's winning, and he's just annoying if he's losing. He comes in and ripping everybody and acting like he's the best coach in NFL history, and that's awesome, and it's great for the off season. But when you start 1-4, it's really not gonna play too well, right? Especially with a market that has nothing. That's it. The Saints market. Okay, well they won a Super Bowl with him. Broncos have won 1 game with him, so everything's bad here. Defense stinks. Don't blame Russell Wilson. That's one thing. I will say this. Like, I'm not just trying to stick up for Russell Wilson, but I think it's just way, way, way too simplistic to be like, well, the Broncos are 1-4. Russell Wilson stinks. I saw, on Twitter yesterday, somebody's like, Russell Wilson looks the worst. No, Russell Wilson's fine. Like, he's not great. I'm not saying that, but he's not the biggest problem. This is defense. You guys saw it down there. You gave up 700 yards. Like, it's the worst defense in the NFL. And yeah, it's everything's bad for the Broncos now. It's an 8th straight year without a playoff berth, and everybody is fed up.
So if it's not Russell Wilson, because that's where I was going to go, that's what it seems like everyone wants to blame Russell Wilson. He obviously isn't the guy he was in Seattle, but he also doesn't have lot of the help he had in Seattle that he didn't think he had, that he realizes now he did have. Lockett is pretty good. And he sort of misses that. Judy is really not become what they thought Judy would become. You're blaming the defense. What goes on is it the front office? Because getting Peyton was supposed to correct a lot of this stuff. And I don't know if it's worse, but it doesn't feel a lot better.
No, definitely doesn't feel better. It almost does feel worse in a way because it was supposed to get better, right?
Yes.
Like it might not be technically worse. Like the 2022 Broncos are probably a worse football team, but everybody, you could talk yourself into, okay, well, there's Nathaniel Hackett. He screwed everything up. He was terrible coaching. And, it's almost like the Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson thing where you're like, oh, they're getting rid of one of the worst coaches we've seen for somebody good. And for them to just flop like they have and look as terrible as they have. I mean, I saw like the list of quarterbacks they've lost to is just astounding. I think it's at home they've lost to Jimmy Garoppolo, Sam Howell, and Zach Wilson. Like, oh, come on. Like, what are you doing here? So I just think that it's almost more disheartening for people here than last year, just because Sean Payton was supposed to come in and fix everything, and now he's the problem. And it's just you're right. Everything's bad, and I don't know. Like, usually NFL teams can rebuild in 2-3 years if you hit everything right. Like, I mean, it takes some great drafts or great picks and all that, but this feels more like 4 or 5 years because the Russell Wilson contract and all the picks they've traded for Peyton and Wilson, and it's just not going to be a quick turnaround here.
Frank Schwab is the senior writer for Yahoo Sports. How many years has it been? I mean, talk about being senior. You were there, it seems like, from the very beginning, Frank. How many years has it been overall with Yahoo?
11. This is my 11 years of Yahoo. So it has been a long time. Yeah, we've it's great. I love it. It's fun because even though it's always, it's quote unquote, it's always the same. It's always different. Every NFL season is different, right? Like, we got new stories. Like, me and we've all been talking about Tua for years, and now it's gone from like, oh, Tua's a bust, Tua's terrible, Tua's Justin Herbert, they screwed that up, and now it's like Tua's MVP. Like, NFL always makes this stuff interesting.
Well, and you had the incredible story just to begin the season. You mentioned Zach Wilson. And it's interesting now. I guess everybody has a platform. So it seems like every day, Frank, some former player comes out and says that a quarterback who just lost a game flat out sucks. I guess we had that now with Dak Prescott. Having they found somebody who was willing to say that he sucks on NBC.
The former DB.
Zach Wilson was getting destroyed, even by Joe Willie, who maybe he was demonstrating that, nobody beats Father Time at 80. He was starting to, have some very strange things that he was expressing. But nonetheless, I mean, it seems like, every week we're condemning somebody as if they can't do it. Russell Wilson was a target. So interesting that you clarified that. And that being said, I mean, some of the best quarterback play is coming from guys that you would least expect it from, including Brock Purdy, who came in as Mr. Irrelevant last year and somehow is doing everything right with what looks like the most talented team in the league right now, San Francisco.
Yeah, and with Purdy, people like arguing about him, and I get it, but it's like at some point, all that matters is results. That's it. Like, however you get there, what does it matter? Like, people, oh, he's not good at this, he's not that, he's just, Kyle Shanahan is a great coach and his teammates, and he's being propped up, and well, who cares? What he's got a 114 rating. He just torched the Cowboys for 4 touchdowns, and we think he's a good defense. He's good. I mean, I've come around on him. I spent all summer saying, don't buy the hype. He's only had 5 games. Defensive coordinator's going to figure him out. He's coming off the elbow surgery, and by the end of the first quarter of the first game, I'm like, wow, I was wrong about Brock Purdy. This kid is, he's just perfect fit. Like, he's just one of those guys who, can he throw the ball 80 yards downfield? No, but, that's not the only skill that you need as a quarterback. Processing is a skill. Accuracy is a skill. Being able to read a defense is a skill. Knowing where to go with the ball is a skill. And he has all those elite. And it's funny that even though it came to it in a really, really different way, I view the conversations about Purdy and Tua are kind of the same, where people always want to just find reasons to not give Purdy his credit like they do Tua. Like, it's always like, oh, well, he's got Tyreek Hill to throw the ball to. Well, who cares? A lot of good quarterbacks have a good receiver to throw to, right? Or, oh, he's got a great coach. Yeah, that's part of the deal. Patrick Mahomes has Andy Reid. Like, why with Tua and Purdy are we constantly looking for reasons to just not say they're good players? And Purdy's good. I don't know how number 262 in the draft is a good quarterback in the NFL, top 10 quarterback in the draft, but he is. And Tua's, I don't know why people just completely don't want to admit he's a great player, but he is. I can watch him and say he's a great quarterback. So we need to just start having different conversations with these guys about, instead of, oh, well, Brock Purdy just has Debo and Ayuk and Kittle to throw to and McCaffrey. Okay, it doesn't matter. He does. Great. He's great for him. He's one of the best quarterbacks in football right now. So, yeah, it's been very interesting that way.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, look, he's not winner. Like, I hate the title winner. Well, he just wins. They did it last night with Jimmy G. Just look at his record. Okay,
yes, yeah.
Winner guy's not a thing. Like Tim Tebow, wasn't. He won games and they won in spite of him. That's not Purdy either. Like Purdy, you said it. Like he makes plays. It's not like Jimmy G would get in the way a lot of their times. Like Purdy doesn't. When they need him to make a nice throw, he makes the throw. But he also knows they don't need me to try and take over. They just need me to be a caretaker. And that is a skill in of itself. Just knowing to be point guard sometimes. A lot of these quarterbacks want to go and make the tough throw to shut everyone up. And then they make it thrown in. It's Josh Allen's biggest issue is that Josh Allen's so talented that he gets in his own way half the time. Like Purdy knowing, look, I don't care what you're saying about me. Tua, that's the only thing Tua's doing lately where he's chucking it down the field for no freaking reason. I give Purdy a lot of credit for not listening to the outsiders and trying to do more. Just listening to his coach, looking at the bevy of talent he has around him and helping lead them. He's become a leader as a guy who was the last pick in the draft, which again is pretty impressive to me.
Very impressive. And I think you put that all really, really well. That, yeah, he's not trying to do too much. And I watched Jordan Love last night. I'm like, oh my goodness, what are you doing, Jordan? Like, he still has not had a game like that where he's just lost his mind and thrown 3 interceptions. I mean, he's just constantly just, everybody's like, oh, his guys are always open. Well, he always knows where the open guy is. He's not going to try to, he's not going to try to force it into a guy who's double covered. These are skills, and he does them really, really well. You're right. I mean, he knows who he is. He's very confident too. He plays like a veteran. Everything has come together for Brock Purdy. However we got here, I don't know. Like it's one of those a crazy story that in this league where quarterback is so important and they put so much time and effort and money into scouting and finding the right guy, and teams like the Bears and the Jets have got decades without a quarterback. It's unbelievable that a very good quarterback was available at the last pick of the draft, but here we are. Like it just is what it is. You got to quit being stubborn and say, hey, you know what? I was wrong about Brock Purdy. He's really good. That's where I'm at. I was wrong about Brock Purdy. I'll take the L. I'm not going to, we just talked about betting on the top. I'm not going to keep betting against the 49ers just because I was saying in the summer that Brock Purdy might not be great. No, Brock Purdy's really good. He knows what he's doing. And, to that end, San Francisco is the best team in football, and there's no debate. 0. Like, if you were trying to say any other team is the best team in football right now, like, I'm not saying, like, you can say, like, oh, the Eagles by the end of the year. Okay, whatever, fine. I can live with that. But if you're saying anybody else other than San Francisco 49ers is the best team in football, you are trying way, way too hard. They're on a tier by themselves right now.
Every sideline shot, I mean, he's never been, somebody that necessarily is going to look like Pete Carroll on the sidelines there, but shots of Bill Belichick. Doesn't it look like he's imploring somebody to give him a blindfold and the last drag of a cigarette? Is this it? I was reading some speculation online today on the CBS Sports line that, the reality of the situation would be that maybe this is it for Bill Belichick, that he doesn't stick around long enough to break Shula's all-time record, which he's within 18 of. But he had done 453 games without losing. He had lost one game by 30 points or more in 453 coaching games, and now he's lost 2 in a row the last couple of weeks. So lost by 30-point plus margins. I mean, they appear to be, completely shot, the New England Patriots. And what do you make of Belichick's status at this point?
Yeah, it's really, really gotten bad there. And I'll say, everybody's been waiting so long to dunk on Belichick that it makes people a little crazy. Like Bill Belichick is still the greatest coach of all time. Like when he retired, you're gonna have to add the fact that he's gonna have a really, really bad year here at the end. But even the past few years before this, he had kept a bad team in the playoff contention. And here's the thing I keep saying about Belichick is that he's still a good coach, and Belichick the GM is killing him. Belichick the GM is giving Belichick the coach the worst roster in football to work with. I've done this exercise a lot where the best player on the New England Patriots is probably Matthew Judon. He's a good player, but he's not Nick Bosa, right? Like he's not TJ Watt. He's a good, solid player, but whatever. The second best player on the New England Patriots, fill in that blank. I don't know who it is. I don't have a good answer. And whatever my answer is never going to be a guy who should be the second best player on an NFL roster. Like they just have no talent. There's no blue chip guys on that whole team. They don't have a quarterback who can lift them. I mean, Mac Jones is not the guy. Like it's just glaringly obvious now. So it's one of those things where, I think Belichick has done fine the past few years to kind of drag that. They did the playoffs a couple of years ago. Mac Jones' rookie year, they were in the playoffs. So it just is kind of just caught up to them that they keep missing draft picks and the signings are bad. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, like, what are you doing? Like, he's got nothing left. They're a really slow old team, and it just all comes back to Belichick. And I don't know what they do. I don't know what Robert Kraft does. What can you do? Like, unless Bill wants to step down, because he's 72 years old. I mean, at some point, he might just be like, what am I doing? Like, this is a 5-year rebuild. Like, this is going to take a while. Like, this really will. I don't want to be around for this. This is kind of just, it stinks. But if he doesn't want to do that, if he wants to stick around, what does Robert Kraft do? I mean, you don't just dump a legend like that. I don't know how it works. Bill Belichick, had the greatest 20-year run that we're ever going to see in the NFL, ever. It's never going to happen again. I'm sorry. I guess maybe at the end of Patrick Mahomes' career we'll say the same, but I doubt it. So I don't know what you do. I have no idea. I think that it's time, because just maybe you need something new, and you need a young, energetic guy. You definitely need somebody better with the personnel side right now. But you're not hoisting a GM on Bill Belichick at this point in his career. That's not going to happen. So I don't know. I don't know what happens. I don't believe Bill Belichick is coaching them next season, but I don't know the mechanics of how that's going to work, because Robert Kraft just doesn't want to dump him out on the street.
It's funny because, he was known for so many years for his shrewdness as a general manager, especially in terms of, going ahead and dealing players and letting them go that had a lot of shelf life left, but making the maneuver at exactly the right time and bringing in guys that maybe were lesser known, but what would end up, perpetuating or helping him perpetuate that dynasty. It's kind of like the Hurricane fans here in South Florida, Miami Hurricane fans, where they're waiting for this double decade of dominance to return, and you sometimes just have to face the reality that you had one of the great runs in sports history, and that you will never have that feeling again. And maybe the New England Patriots fans, if they had to resign themselves to that, it's really not the worst, right?
Miami fans just want a coach that knows how to take a knee at the end of the game, right?
Well, supposedly they brought in Colin Kaepernick as a consultant. He's now part of their analytic team. Excellent, Frank. Always a pleasure.
You're right.
Yeah, great talking to you.
Always fun, guys. Always fun, guys.
Thanks.
All right, Frank Schwab, ladies and gentlemen. Yahoo Sports, been there for, I thought it was longer, didn't you? 11 years? Is Yahoo only in existence like 11 years? Because
no, Yahoo's been around since the beginning of it. Right? Yahoo was one of the first Yahoo was the search engine before Google was a search engine.
Yeah. We've been talking to Frank, though. It seems like,
since we started, he must have, I guess, just started there when we started talking to him, because he's been with Yahoo the entire time.
Yeah.
We've been talking to him almost the entire time we've been doing shows together.
I'm blanking on the name, and I can picture the guy, and it's terrible that I'm blanking on the basketball player that he played for Oklahoma, came in, and had the micro fracture also, and then came back.
Griffin?
Wait, was that?
Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin, yeah, that's the one. Exactly. Couldn't think of his name, man. I could picture him like with a Kardashian on his arms, and I couldn't come up with the name there on the fly. So I'm going to have to start eating those jellyfish, Lubie. This is a business that relies, very heavily on having some kind of a memory bank there for names. All right, we're going to run. We have to get out of here. We have some things to do, and I guess we're about to conduct what is a surprisingly popular show. At least one edition of it was.
We'll see what happens. Don't get weird. I just wanted you to know that.
No, I saw that. I didn't believe it. I saw that, and I said that can't be.
I don't think it's a lie because the same place I saw that, I also saw a show that had 900 and 1500 and 2500 and 1700. So like, it's not like every show is having that number, like one did really, really well. The other one
were really only good that one day. I mean, that was
it's probably a topic. It's all about how they post it and people find it. Like,
okay. All right.
What it is.
Well, let's hope they keep posting it and people keep finding it. All right. We'll see you next time. I'm not going to be able to make Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, but a fine show on tap. No doubt at 12 o'clock today. And so you can catch Lubie and Mike later on at South Florida Live and the Let's Eat South Florida. You should definitely become a member or subscriber if you aren't already. Facebook page, free of charge. And 120,000 people strong. With really good, useful information for the most part.
Yes.
Mayo likes to stir the pot, man, for some reason. He gets involved in all of this name-calling stuff. I don't know why,
Really aggressive. I don't get it.
I mean, I look at it, you can kind of tell, if a restaurant is getting favorable, reviews from a lot of people that, it might be worth a try, no?
Yep.
And, definitely from the show, the places we've been, a lot of them I would have never found, that Union Kitchen and...
No way.
I don't know that I ever would have gotten a Heritage on my own, where we're not for it, and all the Burt Rappaport's places. I mean, so very useful to catch the Let's Eat South Florida Facebook page, become part of it, and if you're dining out, which everybody is, it seems at some point in time, it really gives you a lot of good guidance into where the good places are to go. All right, we'll see you later on with that, and I'm going to be at a footy tribute. John Footy Cross.
Everybody missed them. I haven't seen Footy in forever. Mr. Mama.
Me either. I mean, I think the last time was when I gave him the money when he won that bet on Katy Perry doing Roar as the first song at the halftime show.
I'll send him my regards.
Yeah. All right, we'll do. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time?
9:39.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.